exactly. So the same Chitraketu Maharaj have got cursed and become Vritrasura, right? So we saw how Vritrasura was chanting his prayers during the last moment of his life, and then he went back home, back to Godhead. Aham dhareta vapadega mula tahasanata sopavidhasmi bhuya manasvareta supatir gunam se grini chava karma karo dukaya nanaka prishtam nachapara vishtam sarvabhavam narasadipathyam nayoga siddhim apunarbhavam va samanja sattvam virahaya kamsham Ajada Paksha Ivamadhanam Gaga Stanyam Yatavatsadara Vish Priyam Priyeva Vishadam Vishannam Mano Ravintakshatu Dripshatutam Namottamaslo Vajanesha Sakyam Samsara Chakre Brahmate Swakarma Pitan Maya Atma Atmachadaragehe Asakta Chittasya Nanadhunya. So this is what Ritasur prayed, was prayers. And before that, who was he? He was Chitraketu Maharaj. So we'll see how Chitraketu Maharaj, as we all know, that he was a king and he didn't have sons, children. So he wanted a son and he had so many wives. So he prayed and finally Narad Muni blessed him to have a son. And then what was the son's name? What was Chitraketu Maharaj's son's name? Nobody remembers? You can put in the chat. Everybody is unmuted. What was the name of Chitraketu Maharaj's son? No idea. Because he brings happiness and distress. What was he called as? Was called as Harsha Shoka. Okay, Harsha Shoka means Harsha means happiness. Shoka means sadness. So he'll bring both. So finally, what happened? He was so dear to his first wife because she gave birth to the son. And he was so attached to her that the other wives became jealous and they thought of poisoning the child and kill him. So when the child died, Chitraketu Maharaj felt so bad and so was in distress that Narad Muni and Angira Muni came back. And after that, they wanted to give him transcendental advice. But then he was so much in lamentation about his son that Narad Muni brought his son back to life. And the son asked, Narad Muni said, Chitraketu Maharaj is your father. Like, father, which Janma he was my father? So which life he was my father? So he was asking, okay, we have so many lives and had so many fathers and mothers. So Chitraketu Maharaj understand. And then he tried to become a nice devotee. He chants Lord's holy name. He goes to a place and he also get elevated to heavenly planets. Then Chitraketu Maharaj started traveling in an aeroplane that was given and got blessed. And here we'll see Chitraketu Maharaj offering prayers. Chitraketu Vacha Achita Jida Samabha Madhivi Sadhu Bir Bhavan Chitatma Bir Bhavata Vichittaste Apicha Bachatam Akamatmanamya Atmano Atrikarunaha. Synonyms. Chitraketu Vacha, King Chitraketu said, Achita, O my unconquerable Lord, Chitaha conquered, Sama Atmatipi, by persons who have conquered the mind, Sadhubihi, the devotees, Bhavani, your Lordship, Jida Atmabhi, who have completely controlled the senses, Bhavada, by you, Vijitaha, conquered, Te, Api also, Cha and Vajatam, to those who always engage in your service, Akama Atmana, with no motives for material profit, Yahahu Atmadaha, giving yourself, Atikarunaha, extremely merciful. Translation. Chitraketu said, O unconquerable Lord, although you cannot be conquered by anyone, you are certainly conquered by devotees who have control of their mind and senses. They can keep you under their control because you are costlessly merciful to the devotees who desire no material profit from. Indeed, you give yourself to them. Because of this, you also have full control over your devotees. Anyone likes to read? Hare Krishna. Yes, Ankita Mataji. Oh, can you unmute, please?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yes.
Mataji, could you scroll? Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Lord and the devotees both conquer. The Lord is conquered by the devotees and the devotees are conquered by the Lord. Because of being conquered by one another, they both derive transcendental bliss from their relationship. The highest perfection of this mutual conquering is exhibited by Krishna and the gopis. The gopis conquered Krishna and Krishna conquered the gopis. Thus, whenever Krishna played his flute, he conquered the minds of the gopis, and without seeing the gopis, Krishna could not be happy. Other transcendentalists, such as Jnanis and Yogis, cannot conquer the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Only pure devotees can conquer him. Pure devotees are described as samamati, which means that they never deviate from the devotional service under any circumstances. It is not that devotees worship the Supreme Lord only when happy. They worship him even when in distress. Happiness and distress do not hamper the process of devotional service. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam says that devotional service is ahaituki apratihata, unmotivated and uninterrupted. When a devotee offers devotional service to the Lord without motive, anayabhilasita sunyam, his service cannot be hampered by any material condition. Apratihata. Thus, a devotee who offers service in all conditions of life can conquer the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A special distinction between devotees and the other transcendentalists, namely the Jnanis and the Yogis, is that Jnanis and Yogis artificially try to become one with the Supreme, whereas devotees never aspire for such an impossible accomplishment. Devotees know that their position is to be eternally servants of the Supreme Lord and never to be one with him. Therefore, they are called samamati or jitatma. They detest oneness with the Supreme. They have no lusty desires for oneness. Instead, their desire is to be freed from all material hankering. Therefore, they are called nishkama, desireless. A living entity cannot exist without desires, but desires that can never be fulfilled are called kama, lusty desires. Kamais tais tair harta jnana. Because of lusty desires, non-devotees are deprived of their intelligence. Thus, they are unable to conquer the Supreme Lord, whereas devotees, being freed from such unreasonable desires, can conquer the Lord. Such devotees are also conquered by Supreme Personality of Godhead because they are pure, being free from all material desires. They fully surrender to the Supreme Lord, and therefore the Lord conquers them. Such devotees never aspire for liberation. They simply desire to serve the lotus feet of the Lord. Because they serve the Lord without desires for remuneration, they can conquer the mercy of the Lord. The Lord is by nature very merciful, and when he sees a servant is working without desires for material profit, naturally he is conquered. Devotees are always engaged in service. Savai mana Krishna padarai vindayavur vachamsi vaikuntha guna nuvarnane. All the activities of the senses are engaged in the service of the Lord. Because of such devotion, Lord gives himself to his devotees as if they could use him for any purpose they might desire. Of course, devotees have no purpose other than to serve. When a devotee fully surrenders and has no of course, devotees have no purpose other than to serve. When a devotee fully surrenders and has no aspiration for material profit, the Lord certainly gives him all opportunities for service. This is the position of the Lord when conquered by his devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, very nice purport by Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada says here how our devotion should be. Savai pusa paro dharmo yedo bhaktir adokshaji ahlituki ti apradihata yatma suprasituti. So you can see this sloga in 1.2.6. Okay. Savai pumsa paro dharmo yedo bhaktir adokshaji. How our bhakti should be to Adokshija or Krishna, and how it should be ahaituki apradihata, unmotivated and uninterrupted. Okay, ahaituki apradihata, the living, the real dharma, supreme occupation of all humanity is by which men can attain to loving devotion services unto the transcendental Lord. Such devotion service should be unmotivated and uninterrupted. Then, yatma suprasidi, completely satisfy the self. So, motivated and uninterrupted. That should be a devotional service. That's what Prabhupada mentions here. And also it should be without any material motive. That's called anya abhilashita shunya. You can find this in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Sloka. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadhanavritam anukulena Krishna Shina Bhakti Ruttama. Also in Chaitanya Charitamrita is quoted. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadha anavritam. Okay, jnana and karma has nothing to do with your bhakti. Anya apilashita shunyam. There's no other desire. It's all. And anukulena Krishna Shilana Bhakti Ruttama. So this is also seen how it should be. The first class devotional service should be devoid of all material desires. Knowledge obtained by monastic philosophy and fruitive action should be devoid of all this and should be constantly to serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires. So this is seen in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu also, and also in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So that should be our devotional services. That's what Prabhupada mentions here. And a devotee will be nishkama. Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udarati tivrena bhakti yogena yajede purusham param. Akama sarva kamo va. So like akama, like 2, 3, 10 it is. Akama means you don't have any desires. Akama. Okay. Sarva kama va, you have a lot of desires. Moksha kama. That means your desire is to become liberated. Moksha, udharati. What should we do? Tivrena bhakti yogena. Should do bhakti yoga. Yajede purusha param. So a person who has broad intelligence, whether he be full of material desires, okay, or without any material desires, or desiring liberation, you should worship the supreme whole, the personality of Godhead. So whatever our desire is, we should go to Krishna, nothing else, nobody else. So devotee is nishkama. Bhukti, bhukti, siddhi kami, sadaleya shanda. Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Adiva Shanda. Krishna Bhakta Nishkama. This is what is given in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 19.149. So what does he say? Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Adiva Shanda. Bhukti Bhukti Siddhi Kami Sakala Ashanta. Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi Kavi. Somebody wants material opulences. Bhukti, Mukti, you want liberation. Siddhi, the Ashtasiddhis, Anima, Legima, all that. You are Ashanta, you are not peaceful. Why? Because you always want something from the Lord. But Krishna Bhakta, Nishkama, he doesn't have any other desires, so he is peaceful. A devotee of the Lord is desireless, so that he is peaceful. But a fruity workers desire material enjoyment. Jnanis want liberation. Yogis want material opulences. Therefore, they're all lusty and cannot be peaceful. So if you want to be peaceful, what should have? It should be desireless. Only a stone can be desireless. So what do I mean by desireless? Does anyone know? What do you mean by desireless? Prabhupada says only a stone cannot have desires. So all human beings will be. Darshini Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Mataji, we should not have material desires, we should have spiritual desires.
Yes, everything should be spiritual, right? Whatever desires we have, it can be purified, it can be devoted in Krishna service. That's called pure devotional service or spiritual desires. So desires can never be fulfilled. That's called lusty desires. Kavesha, Krodesha, Rajobhavaguna. So what it should be do is Savai Mana Krishna Padara Vidya Vacham Sevai Kutta Gunaduvarni. This is what Amrish Maharaj did. Always engaging in Krishna service. When all the senses are engaged in Krishna service, Rishikera, Rishikosha Sevanam, Bhakti Rudama, then the devotees get captured by Krishna. So devotee is under the control of Krishna, Krishna is under the control of devotee, right? Sadhava Hridayam Mahyam, Sadhanam Hridayam to Aham, Krishna says. He is in the heart of the devotee and devotees are in the heart of Krishna. So when somebody surrenders to Krishna and have no material motives, then he gives the opportunity for service. So then Krishna gets captured by the devotee. Tava vibhava kalau bhagavan jagat udhaya sthiti layadini vishva srachaste amsham sas tatra vrisha sparbanti pradak Abhimatya. Synonyms. Tava, your, Vibhavaha, opulences, Kala, indeed, Bhagavan, or Supreme Personality of God, Jagat of the cosmic manifestation. Udaya, the creation, Sthiti, the maintenance, Laya, Adini, the solution, and so on. Vishwa, Shrijaha, the creators of the manifested world. Te, Amsha, Amshaha, parts of your planetary portions. Tatra, in that. Vrisha, in vain. Spardanti, rival one another, Pritak of separateness, Abhimatya by a false conception. Translation. My dear Lord, this cosmic manifestation and its creation, maintenance, and annihilation are all but your opulences. Since Lord Brahma and other creators are nothing but small portions of you, their partial power to create does not make them God, Ishvara. Their consciousness of themselves as separate lords is therefore merely false prestige. It's not valid. Hare Krishna, Praveena Mataji, you want to read?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes.
A devotee who has fully surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord knows very well that the creative energy of the living entities from Lord Brahma down to the small ant exists because the living entities are part and parcel of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Mamaiva svo jiva lok jiva bhuta sanatana, the living entities in this conditioned world or my eternal fragmental parts. The living entities are nothing but the very small portions of the Supreme Spirit, like sparks of a fire. Because there are parts of the Supreme, they have a creative quality in a very minute quantity. The so called scientists of the modern materialistic world are proud because they have created modern facilities like great aeroplanes, but the credit for creating the aeroplanes should go to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not to the scientists who have invented or created the so-called wonderful products. The first consideration is the intelligence of the scientists. One must be elevated by the dictation of the Supreme Lord, who says in Bhagavad Gita, Mata Smritir Jnanam Apo Hanam Sa. From me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Because the Supreme Lord, as Super Soul, sits within the core of every living entity's heart, the dictation by which one advances in scientific knowledge or creative faculties comes from him. Furthermore, the ingredients to manufacture wonderful machines like aeroplanes are also supplied by the Lord, not by the scientists. Before the aeroplanes were created, its ingredients already existed, having been caused by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But when the manifested creation of the aeroplane is ruined, the remaining debris is a problem for the so called creators. Another example is that the West is creating many automobiles. The ingredients for these cars are supplied, of course, by the Supreme Lord, and the intelligence for the so called creation is also supplied by the Lord. Ultimately, when the cars are demolished, the so called creators are faced with the problem of what to do with their ingredients. The actual creator, the original creator, is the personality of Godhead. Only in the interim does someone create something with intelligence supplied by the Lord, and later the creation again becomes a problem. Therefore, the so called creator is not to be credited with the act of creation. The only credit goes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is rightly stated herein that the credit for all the opulences of creation, maintenance, and annihilation belongs to the Supreme Lord, not to the living entities. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you. So here it is said that we are all part and parcel of Krishna, and then what should we do is we should serve the Lord. Mamemamsho jivaloke jivabhuta sanatanaha manashyasnani yani printistani karshati. Mameva amsho jivaloke jivabhuta sanatana. Okay, so that's what Krishna says. We are all part and parcel of Krishna. So and part and parcel, the living entities in the conditioned world are eternal fragmental parts of Krishna. So what should we do? We should be serving Krishna, right? So in that condition, we should be serving. And the quality wise, we are same. Quantity wise, we are not. So living entity is nothing but very small portions of the supreme spark or spark of fire. So because they're part, we have to be serving Krishna. But the modern scientists, what happens? They think they are doing the creation or are discovering many things. But matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha, right? Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishtam. Matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedaisya sarve rahamev vedyo vedanta krit veda videva chaham. That's what Bhagavad Gita 15:15 he says. Matta smritir jnanam apohanam. Remembrance, forgetfulness, everything is coming from Krishna. Knowledge, remembrance, forgetfulness, everything is coming from Krishna. So what should we be proud of? Right? We are creating some things, but the ingredients are also supplied by Krishna. So it says that you are a carpenter and Krishna, and I give you a lot of ingredients, like I give you the money, I give you the wood to make a chair and everything. So after making the chair using my money and my wood, then you say the chair belongs to you. That's not right. Similarly, Krishna is giving us all the ingredients to make. Krishna gives us hydrogen, oxygen. You combine it and becomes H2O water. That doesn't mean that it belongs to you. It belongs to Krishna. Ishavasamitam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tektena mujjidama agrida krishya suddhanam. So Ishopanishad mantra 1 also says everything belongs to the Lord. So we falsely claim it's us. No. The ingredients are also supplied by the Krishna, so that everything belongs to him, that we should know. So the original creator is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, right? So we are all so-called creators. We think we are creator, but we are not. We are not the doer. It's Krishna who is. So everything belongs to him. Paramano paramamahatos tvam adi anantara vartitraya viduraha adau ante apicha satvana yadruvam tad evantarale api. Synonyms: Paramanu, of the atomic particle, Parama Mahothaha, and of the biggest, the result of the combination of atoms, Tvam, you, Adi Anta, in both beginning and the end, Antara, and in the middle, Varti, existing, Traya Viduraha, although without beginning, end or middle, Ado in the beginning, Ante at the end, Api also, Cha and Satvana, of all the existence, Yat which, Dhruvam, permanent, that eva, certainly, antarale, in the middle, api also. Translation: you exist in the beginning, middle, and end of everything, from the most minute particle of the cosmic manifestation, the atom, to the gigantic universe and total material energy. Nonetheless, you are eternal, having no beginning, end, or middle. You are perceived to exist in these three phases, and thus you are permanent. When the cosmic manifestation does not exist, you exist as the original potency. Thanks, anyone likes to read the purport?
Hare Krishna Mataji, may read.
Yes, Aishi.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna everybody. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Brahma Samhita 5.33 says, Advaitam Achyuttamanati Mananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, Krishna, who is the original person, absolute, infallible, without beginning, although expanded into unlimited form, still the same original, the oldest, and the person always appearing as a fresh youth. Such eternal, blissful, all-knowing forms of the Lord cannot be understood even by the best Vedic scholars, but they are always manifest to pure, unalloyed devotees. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no cause, for He is the cause of everything. The Lord is beyond the working of cause and effect. He is eternally existing. In another verse, the Brahma Samhita says, Andantara asta pramanu chayantara stham. The Lord exists within the gigantic universe and within the atom. The descent of the Lord, Mataji, please can you scroll up? The descent of the descent of the Lord into the atom and the universe indicates that without His presence, nothing could factually exist. Scientists say that water is a combination of hydrogen and oxygen. But when they see a vast ocean, they are puzzled about where such a quantity of hydrogen and oxygen could have come from. They think that everything evolved from chemicals, but where did the chemical come from? They do not know, since the Supreme Personality of God, it is the cause of all causes. He can produce immense quantities of chemicals to create a situation for chemical evolution. We actually see that chemicals are produced from living entities. For example, a lemon tree produces many tons of citric acid. The citric acid is not the cause of the tree, rather the tree is the cause of the acid. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of everything. He is the cause of the tree that produces the citric acid. Bijam Mam Sarva Bhutanam. Devotees can see that the original potencies causing the cosmic manifestation are not in chemicals, but in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for He is the cause of the chemicals. Everything is caused or manifested by the energy of the Supreme Lord, and when everything is annihilated or dissolved, the original potency enters the body of Supreme Lord. Therefore, this verse says, Adau ante api cha satvanam yad dhruvam tad evan tarale api. The word dhruvam means permanent. The permanent reality is Krishna, not this cosmic manifestation. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Aham adirhi devanam and matta sarvam pravartate. Krishna is the original cause of everything. Arjun recognized Lord Sri Krishna as the original person. Purusham Sashvatam Divyam Adi Devam Ajam Vivam. And the Brahma Samhita described him as the original person, Govindamadi Purusham. He is the cause of all causes, whether at the time, whether at the beginning, at the end, or in the middle. Hare Krishna Mata. Hare Krishna everybody.
Hare Krishna. So here it is said that Krishna is the root of everything, right? Ham bija pradapita, Krishna says, or he is also there in the atom. Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Adim Purana Purusham Navayavanam Cha. He is also Navayavanam. Navayavanam means he is always very youthful. Navayavanam Cha. And Vedesh Durlabha Maturlabha. It's very rare to find Krishna. Vedesh Durlabha. It's not by Vedic study we can find Krishna. And so here it is said that Andadarastha Paramanu Cheyadarastham. Krishna is present even in the atom. So atom is so small. So Krishna has to present in that atom. He will be smaller than that. That's called Anima Siddhi. Okay. And so this example of hydrogen oxygen, Krishna Prabhupada always quotes, like you have combined hydrogen oxygen and you get water. But where is hydrogen oxygen coming from? From Krishna, right? They can't create the chemicals. They say body is made up of chemicals. So you give chemicals, can you create life out of it? No, it's coming from Krishna. Aham bija pradapita bija mam sarva bhutanam. He is the seed giving father, right? So Krishna is the cause of everything, and that shows. It's also said Ahamadir Hidevana. Krishna says he's the source of all demigods, and sarva matta sarvam pravatati. Aham sarvasya prabho matta sarvam pravartati. Iti matva pachat dema buddha bhava samanvita. 10.8, the Chatusloki says everything coming from Krishna, spiritual and material, everything, because Krishna is the original cause. Aham, right? Sarva karana karana. Also, Arjuna also says param brahma param dhamam pavitram paramam bhavan purusham shashvatam divyam adi devam ajam vibhu. 10.12 Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna also says that Krishna is a Purusham, is a person. Shashvatam, he's eternal, he's Divyam, transcendental, and he's Adi Deva. That is Govinda, Adi Purusham. He's the original person. And he's the cause of all cause, whether the beginning, end, or middle. Shiti Adipir Esha Kilavrita Saptabir Dasha Gunotarai Andakoshaha Yatra Padanti Anukalpaha Sahanda Kodi Kodipistad Anantaha Shiti Atihi. By the ingredients of the material world hidden by earth, Eshaha, this Kila indeed, Avridaha covered, Saptabihi 7, Dashaguna Uttare, each 10 times more than the previous one. Andakoshaha, egg-shaped universe, Yatra, in whom Padati falls, Anukalpaha, like a minute atom, Sahavit, Andakodi Kotipi, millions of such universes, that therefore, Anantaha, you're called unlimited. Translation: every universe is covered by 7 layers: earth, water, fire, air, sky, total energy, and false ego, each 10 times greater than the previous one. There are innumerable universes beside this one, and although they are unlimitedly large, they move about like atoms in you. Therefore, you're called unlimited Ananta. Hare Krishna. Who next to read?
Mataji married.
Okay, Pravina Mataji. Then after that, Aishma. Next.
Hare Krishna Mataji. The origin of the material creation is Mahavishnu, who lies in the causal ocean. While he sleeps in the ocean, millions of universes are generated as he exhales, and they are all annihilated when he inhales. This Mahavishnu is a plenary portion of the portion of Vishnu, Govinda, Yasya Kala Visesha. The word Kala refers to the plenary portion of the plenary portion. From Krishna or Govinda comes Balarama. From Balarama comes Sankarsana. From Sankarsana, from Sankarsana, Narayana. From Narayana, the second Sankarsana. From the second Sankarsana, Mahavishnu. From Mahavishnu, Garbhoda Kasayu Vishnu, and from Garbhoda Kasayu Vishnu, Krida Kasayu Vishnu, Shrida Kasayu Vishnu controls every universe. This gives an idea of the meaning of Ananta, unlimited. What is to be said is the unlimited potency and existence of the Lord. This verse describes the coverings of the universe, Saptabir Dasa Gunatarair Andakosa. The first covering is earth, the second covering is water, the seventh is the false ego. Beginning with the covering of earth, each covering is 10 times greater than the previous one. Thus we can only imagine how great each universe is, and there are many millions of universes, as confirmed by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita. Atava Bahanaitena Kim Nyatena Tavarchuna Vistabhavyam Idam Krishtam Eham Sana Stito Jagat. But what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. The entire material world manifests only one, please scroll, Mataji, fourth of the Supreme Lord's energy. Therefore, he is called Ananta. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So here it is said that how Krishna is saying that he is the origin of material creation, Mahavishnu. Yasya kanishvita kalam atavalapa vindya jivan tiloma vilaja jagatantanada Vishnu mahansa ihayasya kala vishesho govindamadi purushottam hambajami. So he is the origin, right? So Krishna sleeps in that ocean that's as Mahavishnu, and it's also he is also called as the Karmadashai Vishnu. So Prabhupada says, if when we sweat, we can create some water from our body, why can't the Supreme Lord create an ocean from his body? Right? So that's Mahavishnu. And then he inhales and exhales and the creation takes place. And what happens there is from Krishna or Govinda, the expansion is Balram. Balram comes, that's Sankarshna. Then from Sankarshna, Narayana, and from Narayana, second Sankarshna, that's the Chadurvyuha, Sankarshna, Aniruddha, Pratyumna, and Vasudeva comes. And we also have Garbhodasha Vishnu, who's lying on the Garbhodasha ocean, from whose navel Lord Brahma comes, and the 14th planetary system is there. I hope you know all these things clearly, no? And there is Shirodasha Vishnu, who's like the Paramatma in everyone's heart, controls every universe. So there are so many universes. Anda, okay, Anda, there is the shape of an egg, and there is Ananda. Ananda means unlimited universes. So our universe, Prabhupada says, is like a mustard in a bag of mustard seed. And it has a lot of covering. What are the covering? Earth, water, fire, earth, water, sky, ether, right? Fire. And then also the false ego also it comes. So in that way, there's so many coverings of the universes. And here Krishna says, if he, by single fragment of him, Ekam Shena Sthito Jagat. Ekam Shena Sthito Jagat means in the single fragment, the whole world is manifested. So that's why it's called Ananda. He's unlimited. Vishayat Visho Narapasavo Ya Upasate Vibhutirna Param Tvam Tesham Ashisha Ishatat Anu Vinashyanti Yata Rajakulam. Synonyms: Vishaya Trishaha, eager to enjoy sense gratification. Narapashavaha, man-like animals. Ye who Upasate, worship very gorgeously. Vibhudihi, small particles of the Supreme Lord, the demigods. Na, not Param, the Supreme. Twa, you. Tesham, of them. Ashishaha, the benedictions. Isha, Supreme Controller. Tat, that, the demigods. Anu, after. Vishayanti, will be vanquished. Yata, such, just as. Rajakulam, those who are supported by the government when the government is finished. Translation: O Lord, O Supreme, unintelligent persons who thirst for sense enjoyment and who worship various demigods are no better than animals in the human form of life. Because of their animalistic propensities, they fail to worship your Lordship, and instead they worship the insignificant demigods, who are but small sparks of your glory. With the destruction of the entire universe, including the demigods, the benedictions received from the demigods also vanish, just like the nobility when a king is no longer in power. Yes, Aishi Mataji, like to continue.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yes, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhagavad Gita 7.20 says, Kama taste rita jnana prapadyante anya devataha. Those whose minds are distorted by material desire surrender unto the demigod. Similarly, this verse condemns worship of the demigod. We may show our respect to the demigod, but the demigods are not worshipable. The intelligence of those who worship the demigod is lost. Hita jnana, because these worshippers do not know that when the entire material cosmic manifestation is annihilated, The demigods who are the departmental heads of that manifestation will be vanquished. When the demigods are vanquished, the Mataji, can you please scroll up? Hare Krishna Mataji. The demigods who are the departmental head of that manifestation will be vanquished. When the demigods are vanquished, the benediction given by the demigods to unintelligent man will also be vanquished. Therefore, a devotee should not hanker to obtain material opulence by worshipping the demigods, but should engage in the service of the Lord, who will satisfy all his desires. Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udara di tivrena bhakti yogena yajante purusham param. Whether full of all material desire, free from material desire, or desiring liberation, a person who has broader intelligence must by all means worship the Supreme Whole, the personality of Godhead. Bhagavatam 2.3.10. This is the duty of a perfect human being, one who has the shape of human being but whose actions are nothing but those of an animal is called Nara Pasu or Dvipad Pasu or two-legged animals. A human being who is not interested in Krishna consciousness is condemned herewith as a Nara Pasu. Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna everybody. Thank you so much.
So here it is said about how a human being who's not interested in Krishna consciousness is called a two-legged animal, polished animal. Aharam nidra bhayamaitunam cha samanyeta pashudirnana dharmohitesho adhiko vishesho dharme nahi na pashudir samana. So aharam nidra bhayamaituna, that is eating, sleeping, mating and defending. It's equal, right, between animal and man. We are also eating, they are also eating. We are defending, they are defending. We are nidra, we are sleeping, they are also sleeping. And they also create children, we also. But what is that which differentiates animals and men is dharme hitesho atiko vishesho dharme nahi na pashudir samana. So if we don't have dharma to Krishna or don't do devotional service, then we are nara pashu or dvipada pashu, means two-legged animals. A human being is also called a two-legged animal who's not interested in Krishna consciousness is called as nara pashu. So before that, what should we do is worship Krishna, because Bhagavatam also says that. So when you see Bhagavatam like this 2.3.10, you should say 2nd canto, 3rd chapter, verse number 10. So it is said what? Akama sarva kama. I told you it's full of no desire, full of desire. If your desire is liberation, still you should do tivrena bhakti yoga. You should do devotional service to the Lord. If we don't do that, because that's the duty of a perfect human being. And if we are not doing that, we are also equal to animals. And if you worship the demigods, they are also called as alpamedasa, because they are unintelligent or less intelligent. Why? Because we are asking for material things from them, which is temporary. No, we should always go for the final thing, that is moksha. Kamadiyasva irajita naparama rohanti yata karamba bijani jnanatmani akunamaye guna ganato asya dvanda jalani. Synonyms: kamadiya, desire for sense gratification. Tvai, in you, Rachita, perform, na, not, Parama, or Supreme Personality Godhead, Rohandi, do grow, produce other bodies, Yada, just as, Karamba, Bijani, sterilize or fried seed, Jnana Atmani, in you, whose existence is in full knowledge, Aguna Maye, who's not affected by material qualities, Guna Ganataha, from the material qualities, Ashya of a person, Tandva Jalini, the networks of duality. Translation. O Supreme Lord, if persons obsessed with material desires for sense gratification through material opulence worship you, who are the source of all knowledge and are transcendent to material qualities, they are not subject to material rebirth. Just as sterilized or fried seeds do not produce plants, living entities are subjected to the repetition of birth and death because they are conditioned by material nature. But since you are transcendental, one who's inclined to associate with you is in transcendence, escape the conditions of material nature. Yes, Darshini Mataji, Hare Krishna, want to read? Mataji, can you unmute again? You have some network issue, your voice is breaking.
Now,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Now,
So much background noise. Now, can you just be louder? Little louder. Hare Krishna. Can't hear you. There's some network issue. Okay, we'll take you for the next time. Snigdha Mataji, continue.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna all. Purport by A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4.9, wherein the Lord says, Janma karma cha me divam evam yo vetti tattvavata tyaktava deham punarjanma naitimam eti so Arjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode. O Arjuna, if one simply engages in Krishna consciousness to understand Krishna, he surely becomes immune to the process of repeated birth and death, as clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita. Tyaktava Dehim Punarjanma Naiti. Such a person, simply by engaging in Krishna consciousness or understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna becomes quite fit to return home, back to Godhead. Even those who are obsessed with material desires may also come to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead so steadily that they go back to Godhead. The fact is that if one comes to Krishna consciousness, although he may have many material desires, he becomes increasingly attracted to the lotus feet of Krishna through associating with the Supreme Lord by chanting his holy name. The Supreme Lord and his holy name are identical. Thus, he becomes uninterested in attachment to the material enjoyment. The perfection of life is to be uninterested in material enjoyment and interested in Krishna. If one comes to Krishna consciousness, somehow or other, even for material gain, the result is that he will be liberated. Kama, Dvesha, Bhayat, Snehat. Whether for the satisfaction of material desires, because of the influence of envy, because of fear, because of affection, or because of any other reason, if one comes to Krishna, his life is successful. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay, just now I got information from Namarishna Prabhu, our temple president, that His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj will be soon visiting ISKCON Bangalore. Might be in a week or so. He's in Bangalore now. So those who want darshan, who want, please do come here. And we're so happy to welcome Guru Maharaj here. A lot of service going to happen. So nice. But the date is going to get fixed 7th or 8th or something. So anyway, he's coming. His health is fine. So please do pray. Okay. So here Krishna says, Janma karma chamedi vyam evam yo vedita tvadatekta deham punarjanma naidi ma vedi sorjina. Krishna's janma appearance, karma activities are divyam, transcendental. And if you know it in truth, Tekta deham punarjanma naidi. There's no punarjanma, no coming back to the material world. Ma vedi sorjina, you go back to Krishna. So it's kind of a frying the seed. So if a seed is sterilized or fried, they do not produce plants. Similarly, the devotional service is also like the frying process where there is no rebirth again. So chanting the holy name, hearing Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, what will happen is Tekta Deham Punarjanma Naiti. There is no rebirth and you can engage in Krishna conscious service and you can quite become fit to go back home, back to Godhead. So here, Prabhupada says that Krishna's holy name and Krishna is identical. Kalikale Nama Rupe Krishna Avatar. So we should be associating with Krishna through his holy name. Okay. And then there is no fear. Because what happens if one comes to Krishna, his life is successful. There's two more sloka. Jitam achitata tha bhavadha yadha Bhagavatam dharmam anavatyam nishkinchanaye mudaya atma ramayam Upasate apavargaya. Meenakshi Mataji, please post that. It's like you have Chitam conquered, Achita, or conquerable one, Tada then, Havada by your lordship, Yada when Aha spoke, Bhagavatam, which helps the devotee approach the Supreme Personality Godhead. Dharmam, the religious process. Anavadyam, faultless, free from contamination. Nishkinchanaha, who have no desire to be happy with material opulences. Yea, those who, Muneha, great philosophers and exalted sages. Atma Aramaha, who are self-satisfied, being completely aware of the constitutional position as eternal servants of the Lord. Yam, whom upasate, worship. Apavargaya, for achieving liberation from material bondage. Translation. O unconquerable one, when you spoke about Bhagavata Dharma, which is the uncontaminated religious system for achieving the shelter of your lotus feet, that was your victory. Persons who have no material desires, like the Kumaras, who are self-satisfied sages, worship you to be liberated from material contamination. In other words, they accept the process of Bhagavad Dharma to achieve shelter at your lotus feet. Darshini Mataji, are you okay now?
Hare Krishna Mataji, am I audible?
Much better. Yes, very clear. Okay.
Yes, Mataji. Purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Srimad Abhacharana Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Purport, as stated by Srila Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Anyabhilashita Shunyam Gnana Karmadhyanavritam Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam Bhaktir Uttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desires for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. The Narada Pancharatra also says, Sarvopadhi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam hrishikena hrishikesha sevanam bhaktir uchyate. One should be free from all material designations and cleansed of all material contamination. He should be restored to his pure identity, in which he engages his senses in the service of the proprietor of the senses. That is called devotional service. This is also called Bhagavata Dharma. Without material aspirations, one should simply serve Krishna as advised in the Bhagavad Gita, Narada Pancharatra, and Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavata Dharma is the process of religion enunciated by pure devotees, direct representatives of the Supreme Personality of Godhead like Narada, Shukdev Goswami, and their humble servants in the disciplic succession. By understanding Bhagavata Dharma, one immediately becomes free from material contamination. Living entities who are part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are loitering in this material world, suffering. When they are instructed by the Lord himself about Bhagavata Dharma and they adopt it, that is victory for the Lord, for he then reclaims these fallen souls. A devotee following the principles of Bhagavata Dharma feels very much obligated to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can understand the difference between life without Bhagavata Dharma and life with Bhagavata Dharma, and thus he never remains obliged to the he ever remains obliged to the Lord. Taking to Krishna consciousness and bringing fallen souls to Krishna consciousness is victory for Lord Krishna. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktiradho kshaje ahetuke apratihata yayatma suprasidati. The supreme occupation, dharma, for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendental Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted in order to completely satisfy the self. Bhagavatam 1.2.6. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam is the pure transcendental process of religion. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So here it is said that what is our dharma is to do devotional service to Krishna, and how it should be anyabhilashita shunyam. It should be without any material desires, right? We have to do. And what else we have to do is Rishikesha Sevinam Bhaktam Sarva Upadhi Vinirmukta. Right? When we involve all our senses in serving the master of senses, two things will happen. Sarva Upadhi Vinirmuktam. All a material designation will go away. Tat Paratvena Nirmalam. Your senses will get purified. That's how we should do devotional service to Krishna. So when we do that, what happens is we become free from material contaminations. We know we are part and parcel of Krishna. Hare Krishna Meenakshi Mataji, can you post that attendance link? Just trying to contact her.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So one immediately become free from material contamination when we serve Krishna, and that is the victory. Okay, that's called Bhagavad Dharma. Okay, and how it should be? Ahetuki apradihara. We already saw it in the previous slokas that it should be unmotivated and uninterrupted. So last sloka for today. Vishamamatirna yatra nrina tvam aham iti mamata vedi chayat anyatra vishamadhya rajito yaha sahi avishuddhaha shaishnor dharma bahulaha. Synonyms: Vishama, unequal, your religion, my religion, your belief, my belief, Matihi, consciousness, Na, not, Yatra, in which, Pranam of human society, Tvam, you, Aham, I, iti, thus, Mama, my, Tava, your, iti, thus, Cha, also, Yat, which, Anyatra, elsewhere in religious system other than Bhagavad Dharma, Vishama, Dhya, by this unequal intelligence, Rajitaha, made, Yaha, that which, Saha, that system of religion, he indeed, Avishuddhaha, not pure, Shaishnuhu, temporary, Adharma Mulaha, full of irreligion. Translation: being full of contradictions, all form of religion, but Bhagavad Dharma work under conception of fruitive results and distinctions of you and I and your and mine. And the followers of Srimad Bhagavatam have no such consciousness. They are all Krishna conscious, thinking that they are Krishna's and Krishna is theirs. There are other low-class religious systems which are contemplative for killing of the enemies or the gain of mystic power. But such religious systems, being full of passion and envy, are impure and temporary because they are full of envy and they are full of irreligion. Yes, Pravina Mataji, Hare Krishna. You can read.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Bhagavata Dharma has no contraindications. Conceptions of your language and my religion are completely absent from Bhagavata Dharma. Bhagavata Dharma means following the orders given by the Supreme Lord Bhagavan as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityagya Mam Yekam Saranam Vraja. God is one and God is for everyone. Therefore, everyone must surrender to God. That is the pure conception of religion. Whatever God orders constitutes religion. Dharmam tu saksad Bhagavat Pranitam. In Bhagavata Dharma, there is no question of what you believe and what I believe. Everyone must believe in the Supreme Lord and carry out his orders. Anukulyena Krishna Nisplanyam. Whatever Krishna says, whatever God says, should be directly carried out. That is Dharma, religion. If one is actually Krishna consciousness, he cannot have any enemies, since his only engagement is to induce others to surrender to Krishna or God. How can he have enemies? If one advocates the Hindu religion, the Muslim religion, the Christian religion, this religion or that religion, there will be conflicts. History shows that the followers of religious system without a clear conception of God has fought with one another. There are many instances of this in human history, but systems of religion that do not concentrate upon service to the Supreme are temporary and cannot last for long because they're full of envy. There are many activities directed against such religious systems, and therefore one must give up the idea of my belief and your belief. Everyone should believe in God and surrender unto him. This is Bhagavata Dharma. Bhagavata Dharma is not concocted sectarian belief, for it entails research to find how everything is connected with Krishna. Isavasyam idam sarvam. According to the Vedic injunctions, sarvam kal vedam brahma. Brahman, the Supreme, is present in everything. Bhagavata Dharma captures this presence of the Supreme. Bhagavata Dharma does not consider everything in the world to be false, because everything emanates from the Supreme. Nothing can be false. Everything has some use in the service of the Supreme. For example, we are now dictating into the microphone and recording on a dictating machine. And thus we are finding how the machine can be connected to the Supreme Brahman. Since we are using this machine in the service of Lord, it is Brahman. This is the meaning of Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. Everything is Brahman because everything can be used for the service of the Supreme Lord. Nothing is mithya, false. Everything is factual. Bhagavad Dharma is called Sarvo Krishnata, the best of all religious systems, because those who follow Bhagavad Dharma are not envious of anyone. Pure Bhagavatas, pure devotees, invite everyone without envy to join the Krishna consciousness movement. A devotee is therefore exactly like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sudam Sarvam Bhutanam. He is the friend of all living entities. Therefore, this is the best of all religious systems, whereas so-called religions are meant for a particular type of person who believes in a particular way. Such discrimination has no place in Krishna consciousness or Bhagavata Dharma. If we scrutinize the religious systems meant for worship of demigods or anyone else, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we will find that they're full of envy and therefore impure. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So the last sloka for today says that Krishna is Suhritam Sarva Bhutanam. And devotee is also like that. Suhritam Sarva Bhutanam. Nirvikshva Karunika Surda Sarva Dehinam. Achata Shatra Vashyanta Sadhava Sadhu Bhushanam. Right? So Suhrita Sarva Dehinam. He is the friend of everyone. Okay? Like Krishna, the pure devotee is also like that. So what is he saying that? We have to know that everything relates to Krishna. Isha Vasemita Sarva. Everything belongs to Krishna. And there is nothing like your religion, my religion. Dharma tu sakshat bhat pranitam. So whatever Bhagavan says, that's what religion is. We can't create our own religion. You can't make your own rules in your house. It's a government rules which everyone has to follow. Similarly, Dharma is Krishna's property, or Krishna makes it and we need to follow it. So nothing is Mithya. People say that Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya, but that's not true. Everything is real, but it's a temporary world here. It's a reflection of the pure world. So Krishna and Krishna's devotees are friendly to everyone. That's called Bhagavad Dharma. And what should we do is, we should worship Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then we become not envious, Nirmatsaradam Sada, and become pure. Okay, so someone please remind me, next week we need to continue from 6:16:42 to 48. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hope you filled the attendance form. Okay, anything to add? So this is we were talking about Chitraketu Maharaj's prayers. So next week we'll continue from where we stopped. Okay. So no questions, we can stop. Hare Krishna. So please do come. His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj is in Bangalore now. And next week he'll be here in Bangalore, ISKCON Bangalore. So a lot of opportunity to do Vapu Seva, serve Guru Maharaj personally. Okay, so try to come. And there'll be initiation program also happening here. Hare Krishna everyone, thank you for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Vibhyo Namo.